Welcome to episode 4 of Fizzy's Editorial Reviews. I'm 14 Fitzpatrick, and for today's episode, The Chronicles of Mcmahonia. The Beast, the Deranged Gnome, and the mega push that everybody hates. Let's start with Roman Reigns, shall we? A couple weeks ago, as many of you know, Roman Reigns won the Royal Rumble in the worst possible fashion imaginable. Basically, it was due to Big Show and Kane bickering at each other that caused Roman Reigns to somehow magically win the Rumble. And then somebody forgot to tell Rusev, who was hiding under the ring, to try and surprise attack Roman when The Rock came out. Everybody was poorly timed during that whole ending sequence. And it made the ending horrible. The rest of the Rumble was average at best. The early part of the Rumble was fairly decent, with Bray Wyatt going on a monster run, defeating superstars left and right. And then we also had a moment that let the air out of the arena. Daniel Bryan getting eliminated from the Rumble. Not in the Final Four, mind you, getting eliminated in the last 15 competitors. That was not a very good idea. So, what you have now is a very angry audience in Philadelphia, a city that is well known for openly letting its hate show. They don't need very much motivation to boo something in that city. And they started raining down the boos on Roman Reigns hard, and he did not react well to it. Because Roman Reigns only has a few years' experience in wrestling, I think about 5 at this point, he was not able to adjust to the fact that the crowd was hating him. Not just disliking him, hating him. Because of the fact that their working-class hero, the deranged lawn gnome Daniel Bryan, had been eliminated, they were going to take out all their hate and all their aggression on Roman. And Roman did not stand a chance whatsoever. Think before you book somebody in a situation like that. What you did was you left Roman Reigns to die out in the middle of the ring, figuratively, in front of an incredibly hostile audience, and he hasn't recovered from that. I'm not sure he ever will, but it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of rebooking. What you don't do is you don't put your top face against said guy who's having trouble getting a crowd reaction now that is positive. Well, they certainly wouldn't do that, would they? Oh no, they did. At Fastlane, the working-class hero for the WWE Universe, Daniel Bryan, is going to fight Roman Reigns. Someone tell me why this is a good idea, because what you're doing if Reigns loses and Daniel Bryan goes on to main event WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar, which in of itself is a risk, because guess what? Daniel Bryan recently came back from a very serious injury. He had severe nerve damage in one of his arms, and he also had a busted disc in his neck. That's not injuries that you come back from very easily. Daniel's still dealing with a lot of ring rust. I've seen his matches, and they're decent, but he has not gotten rid of the high spots and the suicide dives. Oh, God. This is an accident waiting to happen. Not just an accident, but a bad accident waiting to happen. And now you're putting him in the ring with Roman Reigns, who's hasn't really gained back the momentum that he lost when he had hernia surgery a couple months back. Then they tried to send him to an acting coach. Apparently his acting coach was Sylvester the Cat from Looney Tunes, because his dialogue is very cartoony now. It was cartoony before, but it's noticeable now. And his Jack and the Beanstalk story, while not accurate in any way, shape, or form to the book, was rather entertaining, at least for me at least. But it wasn't entertaining for the majority of the audience. And for some reason, they haven't gotten it through their thick skulls that Kane and Big Show, as I've said, are not credible threats. Why did you put Roman in a feud with the Big Show? Putting someone in a feud with the Big Show is basically saying, good luck, kid. Here's this giant 7-foot giant that can't move anymore. And we expect you to win against him convincingly. Dead silence for several seconds. As Roman now ponders what situation he has just gotten himself into. I feel really bad for the guy. It's not helped, however, that his comments seem to indicate that for some twisted reason he's blaming the Smarks. Oh, Roman, don't go after the Smarks. They will eat you alive. They have been kind so far with their reactions of you. Don't give them any more reason to hate you with the power of 1,000 suns than they were before. They were indifferent to you. They had apathy towards you. If you make yourself the center of attention to the internet wrestling community, things are not going to go over well. They're already starting to say that you're the next John Cena, when you should be the first Roman Reigns. It's something that has kind of bothered me recently, is that everybody is trying to compare guys who are now in the WWE or wrestling abroad to past guys. I never got that. I mean, shouldn't they want to be the first in something instead of, oh, this guy reminds me of X wrestler, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, or The Rock, or Vader, or Yokozuna, just to name a few wrestlers. Wrestlers have to have their own identities. They can take movesets from retired wrestlers. They can take some parts of the gimmick from past wrestlers that worked in the squared circle, but they have to make it their own. And it boggles my mind that everybody wants them to be in a certain role. For instance, now WWE wants Roman to be the face of the company. That's not a good idea. Roman is very unproven in the ring. He is green. He had a lot of luck in the fact that he was in 6-man tags with the Shield, which covered up a lot of his flaws, such as his speaking ability. Now he doesn't have that protection anymore. The solution to that problem is simple. Put Reigns in another stable. The Authority, however, I'm not sure is the right stable for Roman. Possibly a new stable formed around with Paul Heyman might be a good idea. Now, why do I say Heyman, of all people, should be Roman Reigns' manager? Well, the next bit is about the Beast. Brock Lesnar. You see, Brock Lesnar, his contract is up in April. Yes, that's around WrestleMania. And allegedly, he might be going back to UFC or getting a big money deal from Bellator MMA. Why somebody who's had the injury history of Brock Lesnar is considering going back to MMA is a big question mark. I mean, he's doing the same amount of dates either way if he's doing wrestling or MMA. He's certainly not going to be working main event matches on Raw anytime soon, despite how interesting that would be. The question now is, do you put him against the third person in this discussion, Daniel Bryan, who I have mentioned in this podcast so far a few times? I honestly don't think it's a good idea to put Lesnar and Bryan together because even though Daniel Bryan wants the match, I'm not sure he's physically up to it with the injuries that he has. And I know Brock Lesnar is a safe-ish worker. He's still inhumanly strong, and he will hurt you if the timing isn't right, and if you don't work out the spots correctly with Brock. Or if you're old, like The Undertaker, who suffered a concussion during his match with Brock at WrestleMania 30. So then you have the question of, well, Roman Reigns then. However, Roman Reigns is receiving a lot of mixed reactions, as I've said in this article previously. Do you put him against Lesnar, who's going to get universally cheered for taking out Roman? Do you possibly do a cash-in with Seth Rollins at WrestleMania? That in itself provides a problem because WrestleMania is the celebrity show. It's the show that gets mainstream appeal from wrestling fans and non-wrestling fans alike. It's a show that in recent years is trying to gear itself back to the WrestleManias of the past, mostly focusing on celebrities, wacky spots, and of course, badly done comedy. Not great matches. There have been a few great matches at WrestleMania over the last few years. The saga with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, the Triple H vs. Undertaker saga, and the Rock vs. John Cena match, once in a lifetime and twice in a lifetime matches. But I'd like to note something there. Those were all matches with guys who are part-timers or guys who were going to retire. Not anybody who's currently, top of the roster main event. They've always had problems booking those events recently. The triple threat match with Batista, Orton, and Bryan was great, but it might be a bit samey if they go with the same thing again as the main event for the second year of the road, just because some booking didn't work out in their favor. But the question is now, do you risk the health of Bryan short-term fighting Lesnar at WrestleMania, or do you go with the dark horse candidate in Reigns? My money is still on Reigns. I may not be the biggest fan of Reigns, but I think that it's a good idea to go with him versus Lesnar. Even though you are going to get a babyface reaction from Brock. Or you could get the Goldberg versus Brock Lesnar match reaction, which was a sea of boos and the hey, 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 goodbye, na 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 na, na 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 na, hey, goodbye reaction that Brock got last time. That was an undercard match, though, not the main event of WrestleMania. Do they potentially do the unthinkable and have Seth Rollins in the main event of WrestleMania, cashing in the briefcase on Brock Lesnar? That's a possibility. There's so many possibilities and unknowns about the main event at WrestleMania, it has actually made it legitimately interesting. That's one of the few positives to take away from the recent situation over the last few months in the WWE. But that uncertainty is also kind of a bad thing, as it has made things, well, very, very hostile. Or do you hedge your bets and put Daniel Bryan in the main event again, so that you can get that wonderful reaction from the working class folks who desperately need that person to cheer for in these tough economic times? We'll see where they go with this. It might be a disaster. It might be great. But hey, the journey is what matters, and that is what's going to be really fun. It's going to be a train wreck, or it's going to arrive at its destination completely uninterrupted. But we'll see. This has been 14 Fitzpatrick's Editorial Reviews. I will see you next time, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day or good night.